KXX Jackson, KNXX Donaldsonville, and WDGL HD2 Baton Rouge. This hour brought to you by Spencer Callahan Injury Lawyers, LA 21 12681. Offices in Baton Rouge. Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
Waiting to rise again.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. Brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the moment you've all been waiting for.
Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Friday. That means we're brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. Got Jacob Beck and Cassie Spazzali back there on the ones and twos. And fired up, you're hanging out with us for the next 2 hours. Hope that work week is in the rearview mirror. If not, we'll get you to the finish line here on ESPN Baton Rouge. Preston Guy will be along in 15 minutes. Saw Preston last night at our Christmas party. Didn't even know that the wife worked at the sister company that we've got here at Guarantee. But we'll talk to Preston here coming up. We've got to get you ready for the college football playoff. We'll talk a little bit of Saints as well. In the last segment of this show, I was thinking about the Saints job opening, and we've kind of downplayed how attractive that job might be. I want to compare it to some of the other situations in the league, and it might not be as bad as you think. We'll talk about that. LSU Hoops plays UNO tomorrow, and I had planned to open the show today talking about whatever we heard at player interviews today at 11:30. Of course, y'all know I go on the air at 1. I'm thinking 11:30, great. I'll show up, knock out some interviews for about 25 minutes, talk to 3 or 4 players, get some content. We'll talk about that at 1 o'clock. Well, I left LSU at like 12:25, and the players still had not come for interviews. So they were an hour late today, so I don't have that. But we'll get things started the way we get started every single day with our Genesis opening drive.
It's time for Hunt's Opening Drive, presented by Genesis of Baton Rouge.
Every car on the lot is online at genesisofbatonrouge.com. We kind of have an idea now as to what the team is going to look like for LSU in the Texas Bowl. The Kinder's Texas Bowl, I believe, is what we're working with there. I could not tell you what Kinder's is, but that's probably the reason they sponsor the bowl game. I'll probably find out between now and New Year's Eve. But we're getting announcements to who's in and who's out. The first to announce, of course, was Will Campbell back a couple of weeks ago, and he said he's going to move on. You understand that. Emory Jones followed suit there. Seen Mason Taylor decide that he's done. And yesterday, Kyron Lacey announced that his LSU career had come to a close. And then you had Zy Alexander and Braden Swinson announce that they are, in fact, going to play. And look, I've been on the record, and I think I hold the same belief really as just about everyone, that I'm okay with players deciding that this is not going to be something they're going to participate in. I think a lot of people were in a negative state of mind when Garrett Nussmeier said he wasn't going to play in the Texas Bowl a couple of years ago to preserve his red shirt. At this point, I think a lot of LSU fans that felt that way then probably don't feel that way now because he's got an extra year of eligibility. And quickly after Garrett Nussmeier decided he wasn't going to play in the bowl game and wanted to preserve that red shirt, they made the rule that the bowl games don't count against your red shirt, so he would have been able to play. And I think that's the right thing to do. But Garrett made that decision, and now it's paid off for LSU because he's got another year to play college football. And then when you're talking about guys that don't want to play because they're risking themselves in the draft, I'm okay with it. It's just a different era. I talked about this to y'all last week when we were discussing Emory Jones and him moving on. Bowl games used to be, really, really cool deal. I looked forward to them every year. You were playing a team that you didn't necessarily play all that often. A lot of times they were in a different location. It's during the holidays. It's just it was a cool deal. And now they've just been diminished. Y'all know that. And so I just don't necessarily mind when players decide they're not to. On that same token, though, I will salute those players and say, hey, yeah, I'm gonna lace them up and go play. And that's what Zy Alexander and Braden Swinson have decided to do. So when LSU plays in this game against Baylor, you're going to be without your 2 offensive tackles, which we talked about yesterday, gives you a chance to plug some new guys in there. Whether you move Miles Frazier out to tackle, whether it's Weston Davis, Tyree Adams, I'm not sure how they'll handle it, but you're going to be without those 2 guys. You're going to be without your mainstay at tight end as well as your backup tight end who's in the portal. So Trey'Dez Green's going to get a long look there. And then Kyron Lacey moves on, so you're going to have to kind of duct tape things together from a wide receiver perspective with Xavier Thomas and Aaron Anderson. Trey'Dez Green kind of plays in that mold as well. You'll figure it out. They don't have a lot of depth there without Kyron, and you realize that C.J. Daniels is gone, and you don't have Kyle Parker because he's hurt. So you're struggling with depth there. I don't know if Jelani Watkins can get out there and play a little bit. Shelton Sampson has moved on. Landon Ivietta has moved on. So they're going to have to be creative, and those wide receivers are going to have to play a significant amount of snaps, whichever ones are healthy and ready to go. It's not like you can limit that by playing a bunch of 2 tight end sets. You don't have a second tight end. So it's going to be a little bit makeshift on the offense, and Garrett Nussmeier is going to have to hold it together. As far as the defense goes, getting Braden Swinson and Zy Alexander back is a big deal. You now, I'm assuming, may not have a Savion Jones. There's a possibility you don't have Major Burns either, but you're pretty healthy on the defensive side of the ball, and you've got pretty good buy-in from guys that want to play. You've got your best pass rusher, you've got your best cover corner, your best tackler is Whit Weeks in the middle of the defense, and of course he's going to play. Your second corner is Ashton Stamps. I'm assuming that Gio Paez and Paris Shand are going to play. We haven't seen any sort of announcement from them. So I think safety, you're a little bit short because you lost Jordan Allen. I don't know if Major Burns is going to play or not. Sage Ryan's in the portal, so you're going to have Deshaun Spears, and kind of we'll see what's available there at safety. But you're in pretty good shape from a defensive perspective in this game. Offensively, it's going to be interesting. You've got your quarterback and you've got your running backs ready to go. I think Josh Williams will play in this game back in his hometown of Houston. But it's just one of those deals where you handicap this thing. And I feel like that it's not massively one-sided. 4 years ago with LSU and Kansas State, you were looking at a massively one-sided deal. Kansas State had Deuce Vaughn playing. They had their mainly their full complement players. LSU was decimated. The year after that, LSU went and played the bowl game, and LSU kind of had their team together, and Purdue was just absolutely decimated. Their quarterback, Aiden O'Connell, was there. Their all Big Ten wide receiver had bailed. Their coaching staff had gone to Louisville. Like they were a shell of themselves at that point. Last year, even though Jaden Daniels didn't play as the Heisman Trophy winner, you did have an old, capable quarterback, and Garrett Nussmeier, we know, went out there and threw for over 300 yards and led the game-winning drive. And Wisconsin had a lot of buy-in in that game, so it was fairly evenly matched. I don't know what the deal is at Baylor. We talked to Chris Blair yesterday. He's got friends at Baylor. We haven't seen, at least publicly, a massive amount of opt-outs here, and Baylor's won 6 games in a row, and they feel like they've kind of righted things under Dave Aranda. So I say all of this to basically say one thing. You're looking at a fairly evenly matched bowl game, which for those that are still 100% locked in and ready to go makes things a little bit more exciting. The outcome was predetermined between LSU and Kansas State. The outcome was predetermined between LSU and Purdue. That just was what it was. I don't believe in this instance the outcome is predetermined. I think Baylor has got more of its guys. I think LSU, while compromised at some positions, has enough to go out there and compete. I think LSU at full strength is significantly better than Baylor. I think this kind of levels that playing field a little bit. And look, I could be dead wrong about that. I will leave that door open. There's a chance that Miles Frazier is a bad tackle, that the guards they put in, whether it's Mabenga or Bordelon, can't really play, and Tyree Adams is a bad left tackle, and Baylor rushes the passer like crazy, and LSU can't compete. But that would be a little bit surprising to me. It would be a little bit surprising if LSU flat couldn't block Baylor. It was not surprising to me that John Trey Kirkland did not complete 25 passes for 290 yards and 3 touchdowns. That didn't surprise me. It did not surprise me that LSU annihilated a Purdue team with no backbone. It would surprise me if this one got completely one-sided. And so that's, I think, a positive thing. I'm trying to be a little bit careful. I'll be candid with you in like just completely trashing the bowl game, because I don't really feel that way. I feel it's insignificant to the program as a whole, but it is an opportunity for LSU to put the helmets on and go play in a football game. And I think the way that I'm choosing to approach it from a coverage perspective and from a fan perspective, and I never shy away from that on this microphone either, the way I'm choosing to look at this is I'm going to pull for them. I hope they do great. If things go badly, I'm just not going to get that emotionally invested. Like when Alabama comes into Tiger Stadium and wins that game by 40 points, like I'm moping walking to do that postgame show. Like that's an emotional tug on me to have that happen. That's not going to happen on New Year's Eve. I'm going to do the postgame show, going home and eat dinner with the wife, and whether they win or lose, it's not going to be that big a deal. I kind of felt the same way with the Wisconsin game last year. I hope that some of these young players that we see, like I talked about yesterday in our segment, the 5 things I want to watch. I hope some of these young players play well, and that'll make me feel a little bit better about the future of the team. But if things don't go extremely well and Baylor wins the game by 14 points, it's just I can't quite climb that emotional hill with the Texas Bowl or the Gasparilla Bowl or the Belk Bowl or the Duke's Mayo Bowl or the Birmingham Bowl or what. I don't even know the tie-ins anymore. But I realize that I do have a responsibility both on LouisianaSports.net and here to give this game some coverage, because I know that there are a lot of you out there that absolutely are excited for the bowl game. I think you're probably a little bit in the minority, but it is what it is. And I feel like as I analyze this game, the first thing I wanted to do before we got into really anything was to look at this and go, okay, is this an evenly matched football game personnel-wise? And I think it is, which certainly makes it more interesting than some of the games that we've seen in recent past. So it'll be LSU and Baylor on New Year's. We don't have a ton of shows between then and now. We've got Monday of next week, and I think we've got Thursday and Friday of next week. And at that point, it's time to play. So there's only 3 shows. It's almost like Tuesday of game week as far as how much we have time to talk about this. So we'll get into a little bit starting on Monday with what this is going to look like. But I wanted to, that's kind of my opening blanket statement on this game, that, hey, we do have one that we should be able to pay attention to, because it's not just a complete joke like some of these games have turned into. Like the poster child for that is always going to be Florida State going to play against Georgia last year and just having nobody and losing by 80. That's going to be the one that rings the loudest nationally. But we've seen 2 of them here in Baton Rouge as well with LSU. So that's a situation as we start to look at this game. I think it's worth talking about from that perspective. That's our Genesis opening drive. We're brought to you by Cork's Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp here on this Friday. Get on by for a late lunch. They're on Government Street between Foster and Jefferson. Fantastic crispy fried catfish, crispy shoestring fries, jumbo Gulf shrimp. They got the slaw, honey butter rolls. They got the beignet bites as well. You got a holiday party. You got a lot of people coming over for the holidays, and you just don't want to cook for that many people. Cork's is fantastic with their catering capabilities, and they can help you out with all of that for this holiday season. Just give them a call. Tell Paul and Michael that we sent you over there. They'll get you taken care of over there at Cork's. You can check out the menu at corksfishandshrimp.com. We'll step aside. Preston Guy, tigerbait.com. When we come back on The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electrical Services. Neil and Melissa have been rocking and rolling down there in Napoleonville for 40 years. You do something for 40 years, you probably got it figured out. And they've got it figured out from the generator perspective. You're talking about Generac home standby generators for your home or your business. They take commercial orders as well. So if you're a commercial property owner or a business owner, want to make sure that in the event that the power does go out, you don't completely lose all productivity, get your generator put in from the folks over there at Boudreaux's. They're happy to help you out with all of that. I'm going to give you the phone number here in a second. I'll also give you the website that makes things really easy. But they've had the same phone number for 40 years. That's how long they've been rocking and rolling. It's 985-397-1562. Again, 985-397-1562. If you go, 985, I'm in the 225. How far away is that? Well, it's not that far. It's Napoleonville, but they've got a Gonzales location as well. That's 225-300-9389. For your Generac home standby generators for your home or your business, Boudreaux's Electrical. Check them out online. BoudreauxElectrical.com. BoudreauxElectrical.com.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Got chores that need some extra muscle, but a large piece of equipment is overkill? That's what John Deere compact utility tractors were made for. Powerful enough for the work you need to do. Compact enough for how you need to do it. Find the equipment that's right for you at Sunshine Quality Solutions. Check out our current promotions and learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
Looking for the ultimate game day experience? Come to the Queen Casino in Baton Rouge. Wall-to-wall TVs mean you'll see every touchdown in HD. Place your bets and feel the thrill of every play with our DraftKings Sportsbook. The Queen Casino, where every moment is a win.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs, even in the case of an...
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp.
So we were at the company Christmas party last night, and I'm standing in line for a beverage and look over, and who do I see? Preston Guy. Guy doesn't work here. What's he doing here? Well, turns out his lovely wife works at our sister company. So got to chat with Preston for a little bit, and he said that he wasn't going to do any work while he was at the Christmas party. So I hope that paid off. Did you enjoy yourself last night, Mr. Guy?
Yeah, I enjoyed myself quite a bit. No comment on if I was extra tired or not this morning. But let's just say I'm glad I'm doing your show and not off the bench.
Yeah, well, it was pretty quiet in here when I got here at 8. I did go to Popeyes in the Uber last night, so that's where my night ended up. If that gives you any indication as to how much fun that I had as well. So it was a fun time had by all. Glad to see it last night. Let's talk a little football. I just kind of did an opening segment. I want to talk about some of the portal stuff as well, but we'll touch on the bowl game here. About how I think this is a fairly evenly matched game when you consider the opt-outs. For LSU, you're looking at the tackles that aren't going to be there, and that's a big deal. And Kyron Lacey and Mason Taylor are a big deal as well. But Zy Alexander and Braden Swinson are going to play. So you feel like we're at least in for what should be a competitive football game as opposed to some of the atrocities we've witnessed over the last 4 years?
Yeah, and I mean, look, we're never going to forget that 2021 bowl game where Jontre Kirkland was taking quarterback snaps. And, most importantly, Nussmeier's taken, he'll be your starting quarterback. So it will be interesting to see how those tackles do because that's your sneak peek of next year. The good news is you got your veteran interior lineman will be there. So that always helps two young gups learning out there. But, I think LSU probably would have been the favorite had there been no opt-outs. And then, you got to think about Kyron Lacey is supposedly not playing in this game either. It's going to be interesting. While it's a great look at the future and what see next man up type stuff, see what we're going to rely on, similar to how last year's bowl game we got to see what Nussmeier had as a starting quarterback. There are some advantages to it. And I do believe that bowl game helped Nussmeier be a better quarterback this season. So there's that. But ultimately, in terms of, you really want to win this game. You don't want to finish 8-5. You want to finish 9-4. I mean, it does stink for that. I think they are pretty closely matched, and I think that just depending on how those two tackles adapt, LSU might be overmatched if those guys can't keep Nussmeier on his feet. So it's just a lot of question marks in my opinion.
Well, Taylor Sharp down the hall has been grinding the practice footage that LSU put out with Nussmeier throwing some deep balls, and apparently, according to that, he's studying like the Zapruder film. Miles Frazier might be kicking out to right tackle to play in this game. That's according to Taylor, watching the Twitter videos, but we'll see if that is what happens. Bo Bordelon was apparently playing right guard, but that who knows?
Didn't they just put out two videos? Isn't that it?
Yeah, but he's
like
grinding.
2 plays, right?
You can't get you can't get anything by him.
All right, all I'll say, in case I was just checking to see I wasn't missing anything. I was like, well, yeah, I mean, that's one play. They might be testing it out. I'm not going to say that's concrete what they'll do.
I would think that's fair assessment. Where's David Randa rank in your all-time LSU coordinators list?
Well, I mean, we're talking about a championship coordinator.
Yep.
We're talking about, there's only been a handful of those ever. But that defense wasn't a dominant unit. I mean, I think Dave Aranda is a great coordinator. There's no doubt in my mind he's truly a great coordinator. I'm trying to see if I think maybe Bo Pelini 1.0 was good, not 2.0. So if you average out Bo Pelini, it's pretty god-awful. I'm trying to think of
Jimbo Fisher, Will Muschamp.
Yeah, Chavis was really good. That 2011 defense was, alongside the 03 defense, best in school history. I think the 11 defense was the 11 team was probably a little better than 03 in my opinion, although they're close. But Chavis, I can't help but think about third and Chavis and that 2013 team.
Yeah.
So I would say probably Dave Aranda's at the top. But you could convince me other guys.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think he's the defensive coordinator I've had the most confidence in.
Or if you want to go back to Muschamp, maybe.
For sure. It's kind of Saban's defense, but yeah, Muschamp did a good job here.
Exactly.
All right, let's talk about some of the guys they've added out of the portal. Of those group that they've added, what sticks out to you?
Man, the guy who hasn't quite sent in his papers yet.
Yes.
Delane from Virginia Tech.
Yep.
That guy has a very impressive resume. I mean, you're talking about a guy who's played in 33 games, a guy who's a really good tackler, of physical nature. That would be the one that stands out the most as probably your biggest immediate impact guy. And I think right now he's fishing around trying to see what his NFL prospects are before he signs the dotted line. But if you could get him to play for you next year, we're talking about instant day one starter and a guy who, if he can adjust to the SEC grind, sometimes we've seen good ACC quarterbacks come here and not be able to do that. But if he can do that, he's a bona fide day one starter and future NFL player.
It's just a matter of time before Corey gets that room looking the way he wants it to. That's just an inevitability. And I think Montour Delane, like you mentioned, Jakeem Jackson, and then obviously DJ Pickett, it's starting to move in that direction. What do they need out of the portal still?
Well, you don't have an offensive lineman committed, at least not officially yet.
Right.
I think there's a lot of buzz about Braylon Moore, the center from Virginia Tech, coming in, and I think that would help it would almost be like getting two linemen in because you look at what DJ Chester is. The theory in play here is that Chester is playing out of position. Despite being a highly ranked player, he hasn't performed well at center. And the theory is that by kicking him out to guard, you are creating two good linemen with one player, right? So that would be big. And I thought LSU was going to go after 3 to 4 when this portal period opened, but with talking to people, it sounds like 2 might be the number. Of course, they're going to wait and see who's in there because Brad Davis has done his evaluations of the portal. They're not looking to take a body just as a depth piece. They're looking for instant impact starters, and he didn't particularly like most of what he saw out there. So I think that they are taking their time. They understand there will be a spring window. They understand there will be more coaching changes. They understand there's a 5-day window after each team's playoff season ends. There's a 5-day window to enter the portal after that, and there's a 30-day window after a coach leaves, the head coach leaves. So there's a lot of opportunities to get more players down the road, and I don't think that they're looking to just take anybody right now just to take them because they have players. They are bringing in 5 offensive linemen from this freshman class. They do have returning guys, Weston Davis, Tyree Adams, think of those guys. They do have players, right? It's just about whether or not they are SEC ready day one. And that's what you need because you got 4 guys you're replacing one way or another. So O-line, tight end is actually quietly a big concern, but you just need one, right? Because, I mean, you're essentially down to Trey'Dez Green, transfer guy they just brought in from Oklahoma, and J.D. LaFleur is a true freshman who is a freshman who needs to develop. I don't think he's the kind of freshman prospect who's like, all right, he's got the stuff day one, put him in. I think he needs some time in the weight room and to develop, so you really need a third game-ready tight end. So keep an eye on that. If Delane decommits, then all of a sudden I'll argue you need a corner and safeties. I think you need 2 safeties as well.
Shopping season almost never ends, it seems like. LSU will be all over that. What, your thoughts on the wide receiver room that they've kind of overhauled here with 3 portal commitments?
Man, that was your biggest need coming into this, actually. In fact, I remember talking with Scarborough on our postgame show, just, man, how bad the receiver room was looking for next year, given, the receiving room needed some improvements this year, and they're losing multiple guys with C.J. Daniels and Kyron Lacey leaving. So you needed to address that with the portal. Now all of a sudden you had Nick Anderson, who I believe is the number 1 portal wide receiver, if I'm not mistaken, who put up really good numbers in an anemic OU offense. Whenever I see numbers for a guy like that, but they played in an offense like OU's this year, I kind of want to add a multiplier to it. Like, okay, we need to account for how few opportunities the offense gave him the opportunity. And then Barry and Brown from Kentucky.
Same thing.
Yeah, well, yes, very similar setup for him, actually. But you see the athleticism. It's one of those things, a lot of these guys, the numbers won't pop out to you too much, but the film will. That's what I love about this portal class, okay? A lot of these guys have film that pop out. Barry and Brown is a freak athletically, and it shows on film. By the way, same story for the quarterback they're taking out of Mississippi State.
Yeah.
Okay, 11 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. I get it. True freshman, completed 56% of his balls. I get why you'd be a little like, all right, he's okay. First off, that's a true freshman playing in a disaster situation at Mississippi State on their 3rd coach in 3 years, okay, who got thrown into the fire. Of course he went 0-8. Okay, but watch the film. Go watch the Georgia film. Look at the throws he's making. You're telling me that in a quarterback development system like what LSU has been building over the last few years that he can't develop and become something pretty special? He'll certainly compete with Hurley, I'll tell you that much. So a lot of what I love about this class is just the film of these portal guys.
You got a favorite playoff matchup of the next 2 days?
Well, I think that the kind of I think Ohio State, Tennessee is the fun one, but man, I'll tell you what, I'm getting an itch to watch Notre Dame, Indiana in snow. I don't know if you saw the pictures of the stadium.
I did.
This morning. Oh my God, I did. For 155 years, they robbed us of home playoff games in December in college football. What a travesty against humanity that is. I am so ready to watch this game tonight. And I think I like a sneaky Indiana team on an upset here. I mean, Notre Dame is, yes, they played Texas A&M very early in the season, but down the stretch, they weren't very battle-tested. So, I'm interested in that matchup.
Those Texas boys got to head to Happy Valley, too. It's not going to be warm inside at Penn State for SMU, so I'm curious to watch how they respond to that. I just have in my head LSU going up to Michigan or something when it's like 9 degrees. LSU didn't even like going to Fayetteville when it's cold, much less the Midwest. That's going to be – when that day comes, I'm going to be real nervous about it because these Southern boys going up to single-digit temperatures does not sound appetizing. But I can't wait to watch. I'm like you. We'll see over the next 2 days. Have a great weekend. We'll talk soon, Preston. Thanks, man.
All right, see you soon, Hunt.
Preston Guy from TigerBait.com. Always appreciate his insight every single Friday. We'll step aside, get you ready for the NFL weekend to come. That's next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. They can do big jobs. They're a licensed contractor. They can do whole bathroom renovations. They're happy to help you with that. They can do small things like tub-to-shower conversions as well. If you've got a tub that's old and dingy and doesn't look great and you never use it, you don't sit down and take a bath, you're just a shower person, well, why don't you take the tub out and put a shower in? It makes your bathroom aesthetically look better. It also looks functionally better. So it's 2 things that help you out there with, and David Duvall is happy to help you with all of it. If you're thinking, I don't know about paying for that right now, Financing options are very much available. 18 months interest-free if you qualify. Happy to help you with it. Go to the website, onebathandclosets.com. You can see pictures of their fantastic work. A lot of different examples of things they can do with your bathroom or your closet. And you can also get that free consultation. A discussion doesn't cost you anything. So go to onebathandclosets.com, have that consultation with David Duvall, and get started with your bathroom or your closet today. It's One Bath and Closets, onebathandclosets.com.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Quirks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp.
Carl Dunn in the Bayou Ford chat says, Hunt Palmer must have been a heck of a party last night. I would concur. It was a great party. Predictably, may have gotten a little bit away from me.
Yeah.
It happens. Look, the wife's not there. The kid's not there. There's an open bar. Shout out Flynn. And they gave us an Uber voucher. So, what
are you going to do?
I might have had one more than was necessary.
Probably more than one.
Look, it's okay.
It's all right.
I had a great time. Did you have some fun?
Oh, yeah. It was awesome, man. Really, the food was amazing. I had a nice band.
That was
playing.
another issue. I did not go get food.
Yeah, that was a mistake.
It was free. It was right there. I just didn't.
A very big mistake on your part.
But I did get Popeyes, which was great.
You had to pay for that, though.
I did. That's okay. Didn't have to pay for the Uber. Shout out Guarantee. That was
didn't.
fantastic work. So look, keeping it between the buoys, but
you're here. You made it to work on time.
I did. I was here at 8. I can tell you there weren't a lot of people here at 8. Brian Haldane was here at 8 to do his show on Talk. The morning show here was on with T-Bob, Jake, and then Alondra was here. Taylor was here, and I don't know if anybody else was here. I walked down to the sales floor. The lights were out. There was not even a soul there.
Yeah.
I don't know if the music stations were on or not. I didn't see anybody this morning. But that's okay. We had some fun, and this is kind of the end of the line for 2024. Like, the next 2 weeks are kind of cooked because of the holidays. Good show, I guarantee, last night. Had a great time, great Christmas party. We got a lot to do here over the next 90 minutes or so. We will talk about the college football playoff, which I'm excited to break down in the second hour. LSU and UNO play a basketball game. I've got some brief thoughts on that. Newsflash, UNO not very good. So that's part of the story, but we got to see what LSU can do in this game. So we'll talk a little about that in hour number 2. But for right now, let's get you ready for what will be the week in the National Football League. Let's start in Tier 4, some bad football here. The Cardinals are at the Panthers. Cardinals are only one game back of the Rams and Steelers. The Panthers are not good. They do cover. 5-1 against the spread in their last 6, and they have covered 5 straight as underdogs. They're, of course, an underdog in this game. So play the Panthers. They're covering points. The Pats are at the Bills. The Patriots are bad. The Bills are not bad. The last two listen, this is an incredible stat. The last 2 times the Patriots and Bills have played in Buffalo, the opening kickoff has been run back for a touchdown. That has never happened before in the history of the NFL, that back-to-back years a team had the opening kickoff run back between the same team. That did not come out the way I wanted it to.
That was a little rough.
That didn't go, but it still stands. It's a cool stat.
You got it.
All right, Jags at the Raiders. This is a game that really has top pick implications here. Let me break this down. If the Raiders lose, they've got a 30% chance to get the top pick. If the Jags lose, they've got an 11% chance to get the top pick. If the Raiders win, that drops from 30 to 2%. If the Jags win, that drops from 11 to less than 1%. So winner's probably not getting the first pick, but the loser very much could. All right, Tier 3, a lot of action here in some mediocre football. The New York Giants will travel to Atlanta to play the Falcons. The Giants' loss would be a franchise record 10th in a row. However, from a local perspective, we want Malik to do well. He needs 99 yards and 16 catches to set the all-time rookie record held by Puka Nacua. So 99 yards and 16 catches over the last 3 weeks for Malik. He'll get those yards, the catches we will see. Lions are at the Bears in Chicago. The Lions have 21 players on IR. 21 players on IR. That is amazing. With the W against the Bears, who were terrible, the Lions' number 1 seed goes up to 65% that they will get the top seed in the NFC. An incredible job of coaching by Dan Campbell and his staff. Browns are at the Bengals. Dorian Thompson-Robinson is going to be the quarterback for the Browns in this game. This depresses me. Joe Burrow's QBR in losses this year is 72. That's the second highest ever since the stat was created in 2006. Ben Roethlisberger, for a bad team, was a little bit better, but Joe's played great. The Bengals just stink. Titans are at the Colts. Both teams have been eliminated from the playoffs, but you can still bet on this game. The Titans have been good against the spread as underdogs, 8-2. This season, they've had 6 straight road games go over the total for Tennessee, so check that out as well. The Rams are at the Jets. The 18th time Matt Stafford and Aaron Rodgers have played. That's the 5th most ever. Rodgers is 13-4 in those games. Of course, a lot of that was Stafford in Detroit. The Rams are 8-6, and they still could win the NFC West, so we'll see if they can go to New York and win. 49ers are at the Dolphins. The Dolphins are out of the playoffs with a loss. The 49ers are out with a loss or one of 7 teams winning, so basically the 49ers are cooked. Tier 2, some good action here. The Vikings are at the Seahawks. The Vikings are 12-2, and I don't think a lot of people are really talking about the Vikings. Seattle is only 3-5 at home. A loss would be their first time with 6 home losses since 2008. Buccaneers are at the Cowboys. How about this? Dallas had won 17 straight home regular season games when the Saints went there in Week 2. They haven't won since. They're 0-6 this year at AT&T. 17 in a row won. Now they've lost 6 in a row. That is wild. Tier 1, 3 games in the top tier this week. The Texans are at the Chiefs. Mahomes, it's December. That means he's got a high ankle sprain as usual. The Chiefs will have played every day but Tuesday this year, which is so weird. They're going to play a Christmas game on Wednesday coming up. They're the first team to play on 6 days of the week since the 1927 New York Yankees football team, which I didn't even know existed. The Steelers are at the Ravens. This is a great rivalry. The Steelers win the North with a win. Tomlin and Harbaugh have had their games decided by 7 points or less 9 in a row. That's the longest streak ever. 2 great coaches in that game. And the Eagles are at the Commanders. Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown lead the NFL in yards per attempt. Jalen Hurts leads the NFL in rushing touchdowns. and the Eagles will win the NFC East with a win in Washington. That is your look at the National Football League. Beck, what are you looking for this weekend in the NFL in those games? I'm excited about Steelers Ravens. That's always a good one.
Yeah, that's probably in the running for one of the best rivalries in the NFL. The NFC North is just always it's always bruising. There's always guys getting knocked around. Like that's always a hard hitting game. In as long as I can remember. But I'm always interested in the tanking game. So
you got one.
The
Jags Raiders.
Jags and the Raiders, man. That's
the Jags pick first every 2 years.
They pretty much do.
They always pick first.
It's kind of astounding how long they've managed to be this bad, except for that 1 year with Blake Bortles.
Blake Bortles got to the title game.
Yeah.
I don't know how that happened.
Yeah,
but it did. How about Jaden? In Washington, Philly coming in. This is a litmus test to see how they stand up against the best teams in the league. I thought they made a statement when they went to Cincinnati and won. Turns out the Bengals aren't as good as we thought they were then. They've hammered some bad teams, and they've played with some good ones, but this is kind of a litmus test to where they stand in the NFC, because I think most people would suggest right now that the Eagles are a top 2 team in the NFC.
Yeah.
I don't know what to make of the Lions with the injuries. You could make the case the Eagles are the best team in the NFC. I want to see how the Commanders in their own stadium fare in that game.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one, man. That's gonna be a big game for them, because right now the wild card is shaping up to be pretty tight for the NFC.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you got the Vikings and the Lions. One of those teams is not going to win the division. The Packers are 10-4, and you've got a bunch of 8-6 teams.
It just makes me think of the Bears when you say that.
Yeah.
Look, the Vikings are really good. So are the Lions. The Packers are really good. And there's the
Bears. Yep, sitting at 4-10. But yeah, this is a big game for the Commanders, man. Their schedule down the stretch is pretty easy after this. I mean, they have the Falcons and the Cowboys. Those should be winnable games. But yeah, if you can win this one, you can probably book your ticket to the playoffs.
What kind of action could you have gotten on the 49ers finishing last in the West?
Oh,
like you would have gotten some.
I mean, there was
some good odds on that.
Yeah, I mean, they were probably. I'm guessing they were probably favored to win that division.
Oh, sure. They're considered one of the best organizations in the league. You got McCaffrey back. Purdy's on a cheap deal. They got a great roster, and
yeah, it's true.
Injuries have bitten them real hard, and they just haven't been good.
And when I think about it, it's not it wouldn't have been a terrible play, because you probably would have gotten good odds for it. And McCaffrey, you know, he's had injury problems in the past. You know, if you lose him, he's one of the best players in the league. If you lose him, that pretty much will.
Deebo Samuel was on my fantasy team. I had to bench him. He was awful. Yeah, he was getting 2 points a week.
I dropped him.
They've been terrible.
Yeah, they've been bad.
And the last thing, the Bengals are in such no man's land. They're going to miss the playoffs by like 2 games and just not get a high pick and not make the playoffs. Just a dismal year.
Terrible.
And I'm just curious if Zach Taylor sticks around after this.
Yeah, I just wonder how much blame. I mean, I know he's made some bad decisions, but the defense has just been absolutely horrifyingly
awful.
Bad. I mean, I think they are last. They're second to last. The only team that's given up more points than the Bengals this year are the Carolina Panthers. That is horrible.
But the Panthers cover.
They
covered
do.
That in that segment we just did. The only game that I look at Zach Taylor and just go nuts on is the Baltimore game, because they stopped trying to move the ball and settled for a 55-yard field goal when Burrow was completing 80% of his throws. That made me bristle. They just ran it into the wall 3 times and kicked a field goal. That was awful. But speaking of coaches potentially losing their job, we have talked about the Saints job opening for a month and a half, because that's when Dennis Allen got fired, and we kind of consider it a very unattractive job based on the salary cap and based on the organizational structure and all that kind of stuff. And I started thinking about the other jobs that are open or are going to come open, and all of a sudden I want to start actually having a more frank conversation about where that Saints job actually sits, because there's some dysfunctional franchises in this league. So we're going to talk about that to close out hour number 1 coming up next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Highland Insurance Group, HighlandIG.com is the website. Jonathan Carbo and his team are fantastic folks to work with. Y'all know I spent 7 years in the insurance game and understand how it works. And so I enjoy our conversations with Jonathan, because not every agent approaches things the same. There are a lot of agents that'll go out there and they'll call you up and they'll say, hey, show me your insurance program. I can save you 15%. And if that's the call that you want to take, then this is probably not the company for you. That's not going to be the Highland Insurance Group's main goal. Now, of course, they're going to make sure that your commercial insurance is placed at a reasonable price. But the thing that they're going to concern themselves with is protecting your business from those risks. whether it's car accidents, whether it's hurricanes, whether it's cyber attacks, lawsuits, whatever the case may be. You need your insurance policy to respond to those things. You pay a lot of money for it. If you are a business, you want to make sure it's doing the right thing. And that's what Jonathan Carver and his team at the Highland Insurance Group want to concern themselves with. So if your insurance renews here in a couple of months, I highly recommend giving them a call or visiting them online at highlandig.com. They're happy to help you wherever you are in the state of Louisiana with your commercial insurance needs. Just go to the website, highlandig.com. It's the Highland Insurance Group, highlandig.com.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood Subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs, even in the case of an after-hours emergency. The light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Quirks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp.
All right, let's wrap up our #1 here. Our Friday show is brought to you by Quirks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp. Let's talk a little Saints. We have talked about the Saints job being open for some time now, and I understand that you've got a general manager who hasn't done a phenomenal job in the draft or with the salary cap. You've got a terrible cap situation, and you don't have quarterback squared away. I'm not suggesting that the Saints job is incredibly desirable. I'm not. But I do want to go ahead and put them into the mix with all these other jobs that are going to be open. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it's a patch of roses that you're going to fall into somewhere else, because the jobs that are open or are going to come open come with some real complications, and that may benefit the Saints when Ben Johnson or Mike Vrabel or Bill Belichick, whoever gets into the job market and whoever the Saints want. I don't know that you're way down the totem pole when I start looking at other jobs. So who's open right now? We know the Jets are open. They fired Robert Saleh. Did anyone just read that story that just came out in The Athletic? Woody Johnson's got kids running around talking about Madden ratings. There's complete dysfunction from top to bottom. They have not made the playoffs in 14 years. Aaron Rodgers looks completely washed. It's a dysfunctional organization and a team that is bad. And you've got a lot of people in league circles that are pointing to that job and are giving quotes anonymously to The Athletic saying that it's a complete disaster in New York. Are you certain that's a more desirable job than New Orleans to deal with that owner, that quarterback in that market? I'm not certain of that. The Bears are potentially going to come open. I tell you all the time, I get a lot of Bears news in my feed because I follow the Cubs. I don't think Matt Eberflus is going to make it. They've already fired their offensive coordinator, Shane Waldron. Oh, they fired Matt Eberflus. I'm sorry, they fired him. That job is open. But the point I'm making here is that organization is in a cycle they can't get out of with general managers, head coaches, and quarterbacks. It goes back to Mark Trestman and Mitch Trubisky, and they constantly draft a quarterback, then fire a coach, then fire the general manager, and then let go of the quarterback, and then get a new coach, and they're continuously turning that over. From Trestman over to the disaster that was Eberflus, and then you've got Trubisky and Fields, and now Caleb Williams, and he's struggling in the offensive court. And the ownership group there can't figure out who's in charge. You've got the McCaskey family that owns them, and then they hired Kevin Warren, who's kind of over everything, but then they're supposed to be letting Ryan Poles run the show, and nobody knows who's in charge, and they're going over each other here, and it's a disaster. They're trying to figure out if they're getting a new stadium or not. That is a grossly incompetent organization that hasn't gotten it together in decades. I'm not suggesting that's a great landing spot either. If you feel like the Cowboys are going to come open and they've got a franchise quarterback, you really want to go in there and work for Jerry Jones? Are you sure you want to do that? And have him calling all the shots and being right over your shoulder and meeting with the media after every game and going on local radio? Are you sure that's the job you want to take? You sure you want to go to Cleveland and deal with the worst contract in the history of professional sports? You'll either have Deshaun Watson on the roster when he's incompetent and massively paid, or they cut him and have a dead money number that's astronomical. Is that a great spot to be, especially in an organization that's notoriously cheap and hasn't been good ever? Is that an awesome place for you to go coach? Do we know that you want to go play for the Raiders with that ownership? You want to go coach that team in that market? I'm not sure that's a fantastic spot to be. They don't have quarterback figured out. Their cap space may be in a better spot than New Orleans. Are you certain you want to go coach the Giants? I feel like that's probably the best situation of the situations because that has been a pretty competent and well-run organization with that family. But the roster's not very good, and quarterback's been a mess. Malik's ticked off, saying I'm sick of losing, and they're blaming the coach. Daboll had one good year there, and they move on from Daniel Jones, cut him. I don't know what you're going to do. I mean, no job you take over is going to be perfect. Sometimes there are retirements, and I guess somebody's going to take over the Andy Reid Chiefs, and Mahomes may still be there, and that'd be a pretty good spot. But we spend some time suggesting that the Saints job is such a disaster to take, and I start to look around the league, and I'm like, I don't know that Chicago's a lot more desirable. Caleb Williams is a big talent, but how's he playing right now? There are only 32 of these gigs, so people will take all these jobs, and someone will take the Saints job. And I don't know that Ben Johnson's dying to come to New Orleans. I don't know that Mike Vrabel's dying to come to New Orleans with a team that's that far over the cap, that's got a quarterback who's on the back end of his career and an aging defense. I get the issues with the Saints job, but I can point to all of these and go, you sure? Look, we know the Ravens and the Steelers don't come available all that often. San Francisco's got their guy. And so there are great organizations that don't necessarily turn over coaches all that often. And the Saints had been really stable for a long time and now are not. But I think that they can put their hat in the ring and be competitive. You're going to have make a heck of a sales pitch. But there are probably, Adam Schefter said there are probably going to be 7 or 8 jobs come open. And that's Saints, Jets, Bears, that's 3. And then if you figure Giants, you figure Browns, and potentially Cowboys. That gets you to 6. And I don't know what the Raiders are going to do or what the Giants are going to do. I'm not sure about that. But Schefter's reporting it. So the Saints are going to be in the mix with a lot of teams. They need to strike as quickly as they can, and I'm not sure they're at the worst seat at the table. You could make the case, but I'm not prepared to do that because I'm looking at warts all over these guys in the NFL. So it'll be very, very interesting. You always have to compare yourself to who you're in the market with, because that is a big, big deal when you start hunting down coaches in any sport, but certainly in the National Football League. So I don't think the Saints are are significantly worse than the other teams that we're rattling off on that list. All right, if you want our Saints content, you can always find it up at YouTube, Hunt on Saints. That's also available in podcast form wherever you find your sound. And Ross Jackson's all over the Saints for LouisianaSports.net. His practice attendance report about to head up there on the site here pretty shortly. We'll see what the deal is with Alvin Kamara, what the deal is with Chris Olave, and certainly what the deal is with Derek Carr. All those guys are hopeful to return to the lineup, but have not been cleared to do so just yet. So we'll have an update on LouisianaSports.net coming up a little later. You missed any of hour number 1, you can always catch it on demand wherever you find your sound, of course, on YouTube as well. We got a lot to do in hour number 2. The college football playoff cranks up tonight. I'm fired up to talk about it, and we got to talk LSU and UNO hoops. Fired up for that Privateers matchup coming up on Sunday. We'll talk about it coming up at 2:30. So we'll pause for Sports Center. Hope you come back on the other side with us. It's a Friday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show presented by Corks.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge. GenesisofBatonRouge.com is where you can find the entire line of vehicles. Get on by Airline Highway at Piku across from Women's Hospital and get behind the wheel of Genesis. You will feel the difference once you do. Their brand ambassadors are fantastic to work with, and they will help you on that test drive. If you don't have time or the desire to get by the dealership, that's okay. They can come to you. They're happy to test drive from your work. They're happy to test drive from your home. And you don't ever have to set foot on the dealership to get that purchase across the finish line. They've got e-contracts, digital delivery, and those remote test drives. And the valet aspect of the Genesis line is great. They will come to you to handle your maintenance. They will come to you for the test drives. They make it as convenient as possible. That's just one of the differences when you work with the folks over at Genesis. The Baton Rouge dealership is the only fully exclusive Genesis dealer in the state. So if you're in the market for a Genesis, get on by Airline at Piku. It's Genesis of Baton Rouge. You can find them online, genesisofbatonrouge.com, genesisofbatonrouge.com.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Doug Brown. The brand new 12-team college football playoff opens tonight with a first-round game in South Bend. Notre Dame hosting Indiana. How will the Hoosiers defend Irish quarterback Riley Leonard? ESPN's Adam Rittenberg.
I asked Indiana defensive coordinator Bryant Haynes about slowing him down. He said it's not necessarily about stopping the run. It's about making the quarterback pay a toll every time he decides he wants to run the ball. So if he wants to run it 20 times, we're going to hit him 20 times. And Indiana locked in to face that Notre Dame run game.
Adam Rittenberg on College Football Live. Coverage of tonight's game starts at 7:30 Eastern on ESPN Radio. The game also on ABC, ESPN, and the ESPN app. Right now on ESPN, going to the fourth quarter at the Staff DNA Cure Bowl with Ohio leading Jacksonville State 27-14. At 3:30 Eastern on ESPN2, Tulane plays Florida in the Union Home Mortgage Gasparilla Bowl. ESPN's Pete Thamel reports former Oklahoma wideout Jaquez Pettaway will transfer to East Carolina.
Guess what? Discover's accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide. You heard right, 99%. If you don't think so, maybe it's time to face facts. You're stuck in the past. Based on the February 2024 Nielsen report. Learn more at discover.com/credit card.
The Hunt Palmer Show. Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
Waiting to rise again.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. Brought to you by Quirks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the moment you've all been waiting for.
Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour number 2, Friday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, presented by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. Fired up, you're with us. Got one more hour here. We'll toss the baton over to Matt Moscona and AFR. He'll be with you until 6 o'clock. Last full work week of the year for a lot of folks. We'll get you to the finish line here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. And I'm excited for tonight to watch a little college football playoff action. I know there are a lot of people that didn't love the idea of expanding the playoffs. I know there are a lot of people that don't feel like they should be watching teams in a playoff that they don't feel have a chance to win the national championship. I don't feel that way. I'm very excited to watch these games. We're going to talk about Tennessee and Ohio State at the end here, and I'll tell you, like, that is what they made this thing for, and I'm super pumped for that game. But tonight we get Indiana and Notre Dame, which is an in-state matchup, which I think is really, really cool. South Bend is 200 miles from Bloomington. That's the same distance from Baton Rouge to Mobile for those that have gone that way, gone east to the beach or whatever have you. It's not very far, and I'm assuming Indiana will bring some folks there, but it ought to be an incredible environment. 29 degrees up in South Bend. This game, though, I'm starting to feel pretty strongly about, and this is exactly what Vegas wants. I won't wager on the game, but they'll have me right where they want me if I were going to wager on the game, because I look at statistics and I go, okay, Indiana is 4th in the country in rushing success rate allowed. They're great up front on defense. Notre Dame is a really good running team. They're 2nd in the country in yards per carry, but Indiana should be able to hold up there. And then you look at Indiana, they're 1st nationally in passing success rate on offense. Notre Dame is number 1 against the pass. That's another evenly matched side of the football with Indiana's with Curtis Rourke and that passing attack. But I can't get past this. I just cannot get past this. And look, I was listening to Live at Lunch earlier today, and Charles Handegriff laid out what happened in the Indiana-Ohio State game, and his points were valid. He was like, it was a little bit quote-unquote flukish at times with some of the things that happened right before the end of the half. Indiana was in that game more than the score may have represented. But this is what I can't get past with Indiana. They had 153 total yards at Ohio State. 153 yards. And then you would look at that and go, well, maybe it was one of those games where Ohio State had the ball the whole time. Y'all remember that Vanderbilt had the ball the whole game against Alabama. They had like 41 minutes of possession time in that game. And that would stand to reason if that were the case, that could be a part of the reason why the Indiana couldn't move the ball. No, they won time of possession in the game against Ohio State. It was barely, but they had over 30 minutes of possession time, and they couldn't move the ball. They had 153 yards of offense in that game. And you look at Notre Dame, they've played a couple of good teams, not a lot, but a couple, and have been able to run the ball. Like they ran it for 198 yards at Texas A&M. They ran the ball for 258 on USC. I'm not suggesting the Notre Dame schedule is tough. I would suggest actually the opposite. I think it was pathetically light. But they have shown up and played and shown it when they've had an opportunity. And for me, when Indiana got one chance, they got 153 yards. I don't love that. I like Kirk Cignetti's brazen nature. I love that he's brash. I love that he's put Indiana on the map. He's in this position because their schedule's a joke. That's the only reason Indiana's in this position. And I'm pulling for him tonight. I hope they win. I think the fact that it's an in-state matchup is cool. I think Notre Dame is going to control these dudes because I think Notre Dame's got a bunch of four-star recruits. I think Notre Dame's got guys that are going to play in the NFL, and I don't think Indiana has it. I think Indiana has a bunch of James Madison transfers. That's what I think Indiana has. And Hester thinks I'm a clown for dogging on Indiana and dogging on SMU and dogging on Arizona State. He's probably right. I probably am. Probably need to get the big shoes out and the honk nose. But I think Indiana's a fraud, and I think Notre Dame's going to handle them. That's where I am on this game. I think that Indiana is purely in this position because of their schedule.
Okay, but what has Notre Dame done to suggest that they have a much more talented team than Indiana?
Ran it for 198 on A&M.
And in the first game of the season, when Connor Wegman was playing quarterback,
yeah, but that's the run game.
They weren't good.
And that's an A&M defensive line that's good. And they ran it down their throats. And then against USC, who's not great, I know, but we saw their defense. It was improved. They ran it for 258 on them. Indiana's doing a bunch of stuff against Northwestern. I don't care. Doing a bunch of stuff against like Rutgers. I don't care. Like I think that if I made their schedule and I put Penn State, Ohio State, at Wisconsin on the schedule, they would have 3 losses. Like they are here because the Big Ten accidentally did them a favor.
Okay.
And I do like Kirk Cignetти, and I'm pulling for him. I don't want Notre Dame to win. I want Indiana to win tonight. And I want to come here on Monday and go, yeah, that was not bad. I'm an idiot. But I just think that they got one chance, and they got 153 yards. That doesn't work for me. So that's my thought on the first game. Let's talk Clemson and Texas as well. Look, this is the 12-5 game. Texas' defense is real salty. They are number 1 in the country in yards per play. And they're second in the country in points per drive allowed. That's from Bill Connolly's piece on the analytics earlier on this game on ESPN.com. But Texas has been bad on offense. 20 points against Arkansas, 17 at Texas A&M, 19 against Georgia. Like Quinn Ewers has been hurt. I get it. But they have not played well on offense. So Clemson's chance here is to get after Quinn Ewers and try to force him into some bad decisions. They've got one great edge rusher, TJ Parker. He's got 6 sacks and 12 TFLs in the last 5 games. He's going to have to get after Quinn Ewers, and they've got to force Texas into some turnovers. I just don't think that the likelihood is that Clemson can get the ball and drive a lot on this Texas defense. I don't think they have proven that. This game does feel to me like it's going to be a grinded out game. It's going to be a game that's played with the run game heavily. Texas does like to throw a lot of quick passes, but I think the run game is going to dictate this. I think the clock's going to move. I like the under in this game. I think 12 points feels like a lot in this game. I don't think Clemson is great. I think Texas will probably win, but would it shock me if this was a 20-10 game? It would not, and that would be a cover on a 12-point line. So, again, this is another one of these big brand matchups in a big stadium on a great campus. This is exactly what we've been looking for from the college football playoff. I don't think Clemson is great. I do think Cade Klubnik is pretty good, but I feel like that Texas's offense is limiting them in a big way here. So I'll take Clemson in the points in that game. I will lay the points with Notre Dame in the one before that. You give Clemson any shot to go to Austin, Texas, and win this game?
No.
None.
I'll
ask you the same question you just asked me. What has Texas done to show that that's?
You're right, except for the fact that I think Texas at home It's gonna be an incredible atmosphere.
They're geeked up in Texas.
Yeah,
they're raising money. They got McConaughey out there. They feel like they've kind of arrived.
Yes.
Even though their offense hasn't looked great. They're going to be fired up.
And I don't think Clemson is very good.
That's very possible. I just don't really care how good they are tomorrow. I care how good they are on Labor Day. So we'll see. What would this town be like if we were about to have a playoff game with Clemson or Notre Dame or Penn State coming in?
Pretty loud.
We got to get that done. That's got to happen. I realize that if you play this weekend, you don't have a bye, and that means that you've had some setbacks. But it's just, I can't wait till LSU can punch a ticket to that. I got to think. And then over the next 5 years, how many playoffs does LSU make?
2.
Probably the chalk.
Yeah.
I would be surprised if they made 4. I'd be real disappointed if they only made 1.
I agree.
Just got to get to 10-2. The Tennessee was the model this year. They found a way to beat Bama. They did stub their toe when lost at Arkansas, and then they lost the big game to Georgia, but that was enough, and that's all LSU's got to accomplish, and they couldn't get it done this year. But those are going to be I can't wait to watch Indiana Notre Dame in the snow tonight, and then Clemson Texas tomorrow. Should be that's the big brands in the big stadium. I'm pumped for that one as well. We still got to talk SMU and Penn State. Still got to talk Vols, Ohio State, and of course we've got to talk about the Tigers and the Privateers on the hardwood on Sunday. I know you're all just anxiously awaiting that segment coming up in about 20 minutes. We'll step aside. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back and talk about the other 2 college football playoff games. I'll give you my pick against the number in those as well. You can fade that at your preference. So come back after a timeout on the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Audio Video Security Solutions, AVSSLA.com. I tell you about the capabilities that AVSS has every day. They do a fantastic job with audio and surround sound and home entertainment systems. They're great on the video aspect as well. They've done fantastic work with our security system and can do the same for you. However, what I want to highlight today is just the customer service aspect of AVSS. We've got Mitchell Fisher's cell phone number. It's the same number I give you every single day. And my wife won't hesitate to shoot him a text and say, hey, we got an issue with this. This happened. Like our remote was messing up. We think Myers pressed something, honestly, earlier this week. My wife texted Mitchell. He actually went in remotely and fixed it in 10 minutes. It was fantastic. That's the kind of customer service that you get from a local company right here in Baton Rouge, and that's what AVSS is. If you're just outside of Baton Rouge in our listening area, they're happy to help you as well. Here's Mitchell's cell phone, 225-439-7920. Again, 225-439-7920. You can check them out online at avssla.com, and I always give you the Instagram because there's some cool stuff on there as well. AVSS_BR is where you can find them there. It's Audio Video Security Solutions. Check them out online, avssla.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Quirks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp.
All right, continuing our discussion about the college football playoffs. Of course, on Fridays, we're brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp. You can check them out online, corksfishandshrimp.com. 2 games we haven't discussed, SMU Penn State and Tennessee Ohio State. SMU Penn State, Happy Valley tomorrow, 27 degrees, the expected temperature at kickoff time for those Texas boys to go up there. And I never really, I know how I feel about cold. I despise it. I don't want to be anywhere near cold. I am perfectly fine in July around here when it's 102. I don't care. I can go for a run in the morning. I can go play golf. I don't want to deal with 19 degrees. That just is not my cup of tea. I don't want to put on 1,000 clothes. I hear people say all the time, well, you can put on more clothes. You can only take off so many. I'm okay with just a little sweat. I don't want my fingers to hurt or have to put on 6 pair of gloves because it's freezing outside. And that's what you're going to deal with. But I didn't know what football players thought about it. And now that I've talked to a lot of people and worked with people that have played in the NFL, Brandon Taylor, Jacob Hester, Jeremy Hill, they all said, they're Southern boys, like when that NFL schedule came out, they looked at December and January like, where do we have to go? And we'll talk about it with the Saints certainly coming up on Monday night, but they don't want to go up in the cold. And I don't know how those Dallas boys are going to feel going up there when it's 27 degrees, but Penn State's probably going to feel at home, and we'll see if that matters in this game at all. I go back to that game LSU played against Arkansas in 2014. It was Brett Bielema's first SEC win, and it was 20 degrees, and LSU didn't score a point in that game. It was Brandon Harris and Leonard Fournette, and it did not go well in the cold for that squad. So we'll see what SMU can do. Y'all know the story on Penn State by now. Here's the numbers. They're 32-1 as a favorite in the last 4 years. 32-1. As an underdog, they're 0-6. When they punch up, they get smacked. And I don't know what to make of this game. My gut tells me, yes, the stakes are big. And so that would lead you to believe that Penn State can't rise up. But it's more about the opponent than it is the stakes of the game. And the opponent, in my opinion, is not that good. That's another one that drives Jake nuts when I say that, but I don't respect SMU because they beat Pittsburgh at football. You beat the Steelers, I'll pay attention. The Panthers, I'm not that doesn't do anything for me. So I don't think SMU is one of these teams like Ohio State, like Michigan, that Penn State can't get over the hump against. I think they're like Purdue and Rutgers and Wisconsin and Minnesota, and Penn State does fine in those games. I think Penn State's going to be fine in this game. Now, they rolled up 523 yards of offense on Oregon, which was really good in the Big Ten, but they gave up 45 points, which is certainly concerning. Well, I don't think SMU is very good. I don't think 1-60, they're uber talented. I have watched enough of Kevin Jennings to know that he is good. He is really good. And for SMU to win this game in Happy Valley, in the playoffs, against Penn State, on this stage, he's going to have to ball. Y'all realize against Clemson, he threw it 50 times and ran it 10 more. He is what makes SMU go. I just think that the dudes, and Penn State recruits at a top 10 level annually, and SMU does not. And I know that doesn't mean everything to everybody, but it means something to me in this game. So I think Penn State wins the game. Am I comfortable enough to say that they're going to win the game going away? Am I comfortable to say they're going to win the game by 20 points? I am certainly not. But I think that Penn State is going to win this game, and I don't think that SMU is going to have the ball with a chance to win it late. I think that it's comfortable in that way for Penn State. I haven't seen the number since this morning, so let me check and make sure nothing's moving. 9 is the number. That feels about right. It's right where I'm thinking that this will be. I don't think SMU gets dusted by 28. I don't think they have the ball down 3 with a chance to go win it. And so I don't know where I would play it on the 9-point line. I'd probably take Penn State, but I think...
What was that record you gave whenever they were...
That's the exact point I'm making. So when they're a favorite, they're 32-1. When they're an underdog, they're 0-6.
There you go.
But that's opponent-based, not spot-based. And this opponent, I think, is not good.
I don't think SMU. I think Penn State, I think, has a more talented team than SMU. But at the same time, Penn State is kind of like Indiana, where when they had their tough task, they faltered.
But they at least scored a bunch of points on Oregon. They just couldn't stop them.
Yeah, but I mean, still, it either way, whether or not they score a lot of points or they don't score a lot of points and lose by 7 or 10, I mean, it's still a loss, and it still just doesn't really give you an idea of how good Penn State really is.
I think they're better than SMU, and I like the fact that their tight end Tyler Warren has 1,000 yards receiving. That's pretty dope.
That's pretty good.
Tight end to make that happen in college football. So that one's at 11 o'clock tomorrow. I will. I don't know what I would do with that number, but I think Penn State is going to win the game, and this is the one I just can't wait to talk about. When they conjured up this playoff and decided they were going to play a round of home games, as much as I'm excited about watching Indiana Notre Dame, and as much as I will tune into SMU Penn State, the big brands in the big venue with the big stakes and the NFL players and the 5-star recruits, that is what I want to see more than anything. And that's what we're getting with this game, Tennessee and Ohio State. It's the power T, the checkerboard end zones of Tennessee. It's the Buckeyes. It's the script Ohio. Like, it's everything that I want in this playoff, and I'm so fired up to watch this game. Beck, we have talked about this probably more than we should have, but I just can't get it out of my head. I'm so perplexed by this complex that Ohio State has, that while they're playing for a national championship and Michigan is a dumpster fire, they're more concerned with 3 hours against Michigan than they are trying to win 3 games and play for a national championship. I cannot get this out of my brain, and it fascinates me to no end. And when they pan in on that stadium, I want to see how much orange is in that stadium.
It's going to be a decent amount, I think.
Because if that fan base has checked out on playing for a national championship, when they've got as good a chance as anybody to win this thing, they went to Eugene, Oregon, and played those guys straight up, and they're the 1 seed. And they're checked out because they can't get over the freaking Michigan game 3 weeks ago. That blows my mind, and that fan base deserves what they get if they lose this game.
Yes, I'm with you.
I mean, they want to focus all of this on 0-4 against Michigan, and they don't want to focus on the fact that Ryan Day is recruiting like crazy and beating everybody else and putting them in position every single year. And it's just so weird to me. And Tennessee fans are as fired up as they've been probably since 2007, maybe since 2001 when LSU beat them in the SEC championship when they were going to go to the Rose Bowl to play for a national championship, maybe since 98 when they won the championship. But they are geeked up about Josh Heupel, about the direction of this program, about the fact that they were in the doldrums for 15 years, getting crushed by Saban and being non-competitive against Florida and losing all those games against Georgia. And now they've kind of emerged from that a little bit, and they feel like they've got a chance. I'm curious to see how many people they can get into that stadium. This game, to me, comes down to how well Nico Iamaleava plays. I think that's the biggest variable. We have seen games this year where he has just looked lost. He was terrible against Arkansas. I would submit he was bad against Oklahoma in that game. I think he's played a little bit better of late. I thought he was functional against Georgia. And I think that he's got the ability to be a really good player, but he's also got the ability to stink it up. When I look at, like, Curtis Rourke, I don't think is going to go out there and throw 4 interceptions in the game tonight. I don't think Dylan Gabriel is going to lay an egg for Oregon. Like, you start to look at some of the quarterbacks, and those guys are very, very reliable. Drew Aller is not going to win the Heisman anytime soon, but he's got some talent, and he's taking care of the ball. I worry about Nico laying an egg, and that is something that is in his bag that you just have to avoid if you're Tennessee. And Ohio State's got good enough players on defense to make it a long day for him. I think that when you look at Ohio State and Tennessee, when Ohio State has the ball, I think that Ohio State is going to move it, and they're probably going to score somewhere in the neighborhood of like 24 points. Like, I don't think there's a lot of variable there. I could see Tennessee scoring 28. I could see Tennessee scoring 6 because Nico, to me, is a variable. They're going to try to run the ball. They've got one of the best running backs in the country. We know that. But Nico is who it comes down to. He's going to have to play on third down, and he's going to have to play in the red area. And if he does that, I think Tennessee's got a real chance to win the game. Without knowing what the psyche is of Ohio State, without knowing what that stadium is actually going to look like, I am going to take Ohio State in this game. That's another number that was moving as of this morning. As I look at it, it's 7. That's right on the number. I saw 6.5 earlier too. At 7, I probably take Tennessee to cover that number. I think these defenses are going to be really good. I think there's going to be a lot of running the ball. Quinshon Jugson's, Travion Henderson, we know that for Ohio State. And then obviously Dylan Sampson for Tennessee has been phenomenal. Going to be cold. Going to be, I think, a slobber knocker. I like the under 46.5. And I like Ohio State to win, but maybe not cover the 7 in a game that feels 20-17-ish to me. So I'll take the home team, but I think Tennessee is live here, and they absolutely can win the game. It's a tough draw for Tennessee, having to go to Columbus and then having to play Oregon on the west part of the country. But I think that I like Ohio State to win the game. You give the Vols a fighting chance?
Yeah, I've been a higher on them, I guess.
I got that right in power rankings early. I had them in the top 3.
Yeah, you did. But yeah, I definitely give them a chance. I have this whole season, and this is going to be a close game. I do agree with you. It's probably going to be the under. Both pretty good defenses, good running games. But I'll take Tennessee. I think they have better wins, and they played a tougher schedule than Ohio State. So I'll take the Vols even on the road. I think there's going to be a lot of orange in that stadium.
You feel like with LSU last year, when you're looking at that defense that they fielded, that was just so bad, but a historic offense that was just humming, and you're like, man, if we could have just paired a defense with that offense. If you're Tennessee, you're going, why couldn't we have fielded this defense with Hendon Hooker?
Yeah.
That's the magic potion. But that Tennessee offense was so good, and they could not stop anybody that year. They let Spencer Rattler throw for 1 million on them in Columbia. Gave up 60 points in that game. This Tennessee defense is legit. I just worry about the guy under center for him, in the shotgun for him. But I do submit that he could throw for 260 and 3 scores, and if he does that, they're going to win. That's why I think that he's the biggest variable. I realize it's not the hottest take or the most nuanced take to say, hey, the quarterback probably needs to play well to win this game. But he's to me the biggest variable in this game. Kyle McCord, Will Howard. Kyle McCord moved on and led the nation in passing. I think that Ohio State's quarterback is fine. I don't think that there are ebbs and flows like there are with Nico this year. So we'll see. Give me the Buckeyes to win, the Vols to cover in that one. So that's a look at all 4 games in the college football playoff. I'm pumped up for a little South Bend football tonight. First time since the 60s that anybody but NBC has broadcast a game inside Notre Dame Stadium. So should be a great setting. Touchdown Jesus, Golden Domes, and Indiana, who probably shouldn't be there. That's for you, Hester, even though he's doing a show and he's not listening to me. But he got cranky with me this morning. Said it was bad a take as he's ever heard on the radio.
Whoa!
That I didn't think that SMU and Indiana were good.
And Arizona State. That's strong.
He's having Cam Scadaboo on his show, SiriusXM today. And he told me he was going to tell him that this idiot in the office thinks that Arizona State's not good.
There's some Baltimore material.
Yeah, just give it to him. They're still not good. You don't get to play. You don't get a bye because you beat Iowa State in football.
We shall see.
He said, you're an SEC elitist. I said, yes, I am. Because the SEC wins at everything. That's why I'm an elitist.
We shall see, Hunt, if you are proven correct or not.
That's the beauty of this medium. It's all recorded. It's all on camera. You can find it all on YouTube. I got nowhere to hide. These are the takes, and I'm sticking to them. We'll come back and get you ready for LSU hoops on Sunday. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Got to make LeBears Baton Rouge your game day headquarters this season. You can start tonight at LeBears. I don't think you're going to see Cassie there because apparently she was there last night and may have had a few beverages. She probably won't be at the sportsbook, but you can go to the sportsbook at ESPN Bet and have a big old time and watch the college football playoff. Go tomorrow. It's going to be wall-to-wall football in there and should be a fantastic place to tackle the area's best game day food and beverages with all your friends. You can get in on the basketball and football action this winter with the Penn Play app and ESPN Bet. Penn's online sportsbook now live in Louisiana. You can score big this season with LeBears Baton Rouge however you want to play. Must be 21 years or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700 for help.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp.
All right, about half an hour to go here in our work week on the Hunt Palmer Show. We're brought to you by Corks Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. They're on Government between Foster and Jefferson. Check out that menu, corksfishandshrimp.com. Beck, UNO has got to spend some more money on their Google spend, because when you search UNO basketball on Google, I found this out this morning when I was prepping for the segment, you get Nebraska Omaha,
that's
University
not
of New Orleans.
That's not acceptable.
So it's
Let's
time
go
for
privateers.
UNO's got to up their Google spend and find a way to get to the top of the search page when you search UNO.
Well, I tell you this, if they were good, then they may be at the top.
They were good under Coach Schlesinger, but
they were for a little bit.
He left, and now they're not good. They're 2-8 on the season. They opened at Kansas State this year and lost that game by 24 points. They lost a game to something called Stonehill. Again, another instance of teams that LSU plays in basketball that are playing against teams that I've never heard of. Last week we had New College of Florida, and this year we have Stonehill. And unfortunately, I have to tell you that UNO lost to Stonehill by 26 points. That is not very good.
Stonehill Skyhawks, Hunt.
I don't know. They have some wings on their S, which is
they're the Skyhawks. I don't know what a Skyhawk is, but
I don't think that's real.
It's real.
But UNO has been battle-tested outside of the Stonehill game. I mentioned they were at Kansas State. They also went to Baylor, who is ranked. They played that game and lost by 29 points. They went to Iowa and played, lost that game by 43 points. They went to Texas and played and lost by 36. So this is a team in UNO that has played a lot of big brands, collected a lot of checks, not doing a lot of winning or competing at this point. You look at the latest net rankings. UNO is 339th in the country. There are only 364 teams. Unfortunately, the 364th ranked team is Mississippi Valley State, who LSU sees next weekend. But this is not going to be an uber competitive game. I don't believe UNO is going to come in here like Stetson and miss 16 shots in a row to start the game. They certainly could, but it's not about UNO. It's about LSU in this basketball game, and that's pretty clear. At this point, I'm going to pretty much stick to the same two like keys to the game when watching LSU against these garbage teams, and it's defensive rebounding where they've got to be better, and it's turnovers. And those are things you can clean up. And I thought LSU did a pretty good job in the Stetson game of both. They turned the ball over 11 times, and one of them was at the very end of the game by Noah Boyd, who doesn't really play. So you're looking at like 10 by the meaningful players. And you didn't really allow Stetson to get to the offensive glass, even though they kept missing shots. So they had 41 misses in the game, and they only got 7 offensive rebounds. So I think that was a positive in the game against Stetson. From a personnel perspective, I'm now a little bit more intrigued with Curtis Givens, and it has less to do with the stat sheet that said 6 assists and 1 turnover for him and 3 made threes back in the game on Wednesday. It's less about that, and it's more to me about the way that he plays. We were talking to Chris Blair yesterday. I said that I had been a little bit underwhelmed with Curtis Givens, especially just his intensity is the wrong word. It's like conviction is what I'm talking about. He just, to me, seemed to be playing a little bit timid. When I turned on Curtis Givens' highlight tape in high school, I saw a guy that was attacking. I saw a guy that was making plays. I saw a guy that was under control but aggressive. And when I watched Curtis Givens through his first month of college, and keep in mind, it's his first month of college. I'm not trying to absolutely throw the kid out. I'm just saying, like, it's just a lot of hanging on the perimeter, easy passes, risk-averse play. And he's a creator. That's what he is. And he flipped something on in the second half against a terrible Stetson team up 40. And he was making, quick passes. He was making aggressive plays. He was getting inside the interior of the defense. And while you can't expect exactly what you do against Stetson to transfer over to play in Kentucky or Arkansas or Florida or Auburn, you got to start somewhere, right? And I feel like that the confidence that gets gained in some of these games may help moving forward. We've seen that Mike Williams is not going to play on this team. Like, he's not getting any minutes. He didn't play when they were up 40 against Stetson with 2 minutes to go when they put the walk-ons in. Like, Mike Williams didn't play. So your reserve point guard is 100% Curtis Givens. He's going to play on the road in Rupp Arena, on the road at Bud Walton, on the road at, name your spot, Coleman Coliseum. Like, they're going to go to him. And he needs to develop a little bit of confidence. And if you're going to play these awful teams way down in quad 4 that are going to be resume albatrosses and not competitive and not learn a ton about your team against real good D1 players, you might as well develop some confidence for some guys down the bench. Cam Carter might score 30 on Sunday. I don't really care. But if you can see some development from Curtis Givens, if you can see some development from Robert Miller, if you can see some development, these guys that are younger. Victorious Miller got hot shooting the 3 in the second half, made 4 of them in the second half on Sunday. But I'm pointing to Givens specifically because of his role. Like, Miller's a scorer, and they're going to put him in, and he's going to try to score. But Givens needs to be more aggressive than he has been in the first month. And I saw a little bit of that against Stetson. So that's like number one for me in this game is get Givens some time and let him go, because you have indicated that Givens is probably an 8 to 11 minute a night point guard in the SEC if Mike Williams is not going to play. I figured coming into the year, Mike Williams would play. He shot it really well in SEC play last year. I thought he ran the point pretty well when Jalen Cook wasn't available and when they weren't having Trey Hannibal or Jordan Wright do it. I thought that Williams looked pretty good, but he's not going to play. So it's going to be Curtis Givens, and I saw a guy that was a little bit of a different player in the second half. I'm excited to see that. Also, with Damian Collins, want to see him continue to rebound, block shots, and not turn the ball over. That was a bit of an issue as his playing time increased without Jalen Reed. He was turning the ball over a little bit more. I contended that, hey, he's going to clean that up a little bit. It comes with time. He just hasn't played a lot of basketball. He was not an impact player in a couple of years at Kentucky. He missed all that time last year because of the injury to the shoulder. And so then he missed a little bit of time this year with an injury to his shoulder. So he's just getting in the hang of playing 30 minutes a night. He's never done that at the college level. And you're going to be put in some situations over the course of a 30-minute outing that you weren't when you were playing none or 10. And so I'm excited to continue to watch him. LSU's got to develop those front court players. They were going to count a lot on Jalen Reed this year, and clearly that's not going to be an option moving forward. So you've got to do a good job of getting those guys involved. And and develop them as you get ready for SEC play. So it'll be LSU and UNO coming up at 2 o'clock on Sunday inside the Maravich Center. 2 more non-conference games before the nitty-gritty hits with some SEC action right after the turn of the year. It'll be Vanderbilt coming to the PMAC to open that up. And you're going to hear this a couple times between now and then. That is a huge game for LSU because that's one of the ones against the bottom of the league at home. You have to take care of your business in that game. So I'll tell you about that as we move a little bit forward. Some good news for LSU on the transfer portal front. LSU just added a commitment from Texas defensive tackle Sadir Mitchell. This is one that we thought was coming for about a week, and it made it happen. He visited. This is a guy that Bo Davis recruited out of Pennsylvania to go play at Texas, and now he will follow Bo Davis to LSU. Not a guy that was a big impact player at Texas. Realize they're still in the playoffs, so losing him, if he was a starter, that'd be a big deal. He's not. He redshirted in 2023 after playing 4 games, and he played 4 more this year as a freshman. He entered the transfer portal actually on December the 11th, but then didn't. He said he was going to the portal on the 11th, but he hadn't. And he felt like he might go back. Then on the 16th, he made that official. Here we are 4 days later, and Sadir Mitchell has committed to LSU. He wasn't, again, very impactful for the Longhorns. Only made, I think, 8 tackles is what I think I read. He was a 4-star product from On3 ESPN and Rivals, and he's big. He is a big dude. He's 6'6", 340 pounds, and can clog the middle of LSU's defense. You've got Jacobian Guillory, who's coming back to kind of play that anchor role of a guy that just kind of fills a ton of space, but Mitchell kind of figures to be next. He's a little bit different player than Dominic McKinley and Ahmad Bro. Bro is significantly smaller. McKinley's a little wirier. He's a little leaner than Mitchell. Mitchell's an anchor in there. And so I said this when we first got the news that he was visiting. You can never have too many big defensive linemen. The next great LSU team that we see, whether it's this year, this next year, or it's 5 years from now, will have a great defensive line. And Bo Davis has made a career out of building great defensive lines. And this is a guy that he targeted out of high school, a guy that he got to Texas, and a guy that he's comfortable knowing what he knows after coaching him for a year to get him into school at LSU and put him into that defensive front. So now you look at that defensive tackle room, and you've got Jacobian Guillory, and you've got Ahmad Bro, and you got Dominic McKinley, and you bring in Sadir Mitchell, and you've now got some significant beef and some depth in there in the interior. I'm hopeful, really hopeful, that McKinley and Bro emerge into a really tough tandem to deal with. We saw some flashes from those guys, specifically in that game against Oklahoma, where McKinley had 2 sacks, but Bro was in the mix from the start, and that's not something we completely anticipated. He was recruited as basically an edge player and kind of ate his way into the interior. We talked to Ahmad about that a few weeks into the season, and he joked about it. But it is what it is, and he's been pretty good in the interior as a freshman. Those guys have now a complete offseason and to get into fall camp to be big-time pieces on the interior. I thought Jacobian Guillory had a monster camp in the fall before, obviously, the Achilles injury sidelined him for the year. But you bring in Sadir Mitchell, and this is, again, not a guy that you have to ask to play as a true freshman. He will be a third-year college player and should be ready to help you on the interior. You lose Gio Paez, you lose Paris Shand. You've got to restock those shelves, and I think Bo Davis is doing a pretty good job of that. I'm not here to tell you that Mitchell is automatically going to jump in and just be a huge impact guy, but he was thought of pretty highly by the talent evaluators, thinks highly of by Bo Davis, so this is a good get for LSU. Is Sadir Mitchell leaving Texas? He's going to come to LSU after 8 games in 2 years with the Longhorns. So that's your good news from the transfer portal here on this Friday. I want to remind you about my friends at Cork's Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. If you're doing a holiday party, I know it's late for that, but maybe New Year's or catering, or if you've got a game watch party, you want to watch the Tigers coming up on New Year's, how about Cork's? They can cater. They're happy to do so. Paul and Michael are the folks that brought you Kuyons across the river. They're great on a catering front. Cork's can help you as well. Those big trays of jumbo Gulf shrimp, crispy fried catfish, the shoestring fries are fantastic. They'll bring all the sauces with you. They got your traditionals like your cocktail and your tartar sauce, but the Cork sauce is awesome. Mayo based, but it's got a little tang, a little kick to it. It's really, really good. So if you're thinking of catering, birthday party, work party, office party, end of the year party, whatever the case may be, Cork's always happy to help you that. You can place that order online at corksfishandshrimp.com. Go by and see them on Government between Foster and Jefferson. It's Cork's. They bring you our Friday shows each and every week. Step aside. We'll come back for one more segment this week. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge, genesisofbatonrouge.com. When you think Genesis, think luxury. When you think luxury, don't think, I can't pay for that. You might be surprised. Just go check them out. You can check it out online. There's pricing there available. Every car that's on the lot at genesisofbatonrouge.com is on the lot at Airline Highway in Pico. It's Genesis of Baton Rouge. How about a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty? 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty. How about valet maintenance? How about complimentary maintenance for 3 years? These are all perks that you can get when you join the Genesis family here in Baton Rouge. It's the only fully exclusive Genesis dealer in the state of Louisiana. So if you're in the state and you want to come on by, they're happy to see you and happy to help you. I've worked with the folks at Genesis now for a couple of months, and I can tell you it's first-class operation over there, and they're happy to help. When you walk into the dealership, you don't feel like a customer who's getting a bunch of pressure. You feel like a guest there, and they'll walk you through the process and get you in a Genesis, and then you can take advantage of that 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty. Start your process online at genesisofbatonrouge.com. It's Genesis of Baton Rouge, genesisofbatonrouge.com.
At Ochsner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Ochsner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Ochsner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
It's no secret. The best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, located in downtown Baton Rouge.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps are held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Go.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Quirks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp.
Get your picks in now for the Hooters College Football Bowl Pick'em Challenge presented by Yingling. Register at 1045ESPN.com and get your picks in by December 27th. This year's season-long champion will win $1,000 cash and $200 for a Hooters gift card. And then we've also got the college football playoff running through this weekend. Tune in for round 1 tonight. at 7 p.m. And, of course, Indiana, Notre Dame. And then continuing tomorrow at 11 a.m., your home for college football playoff and national championship is 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Down the home stretch here on a Friday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. As I mentioned, we're brought to you by Course Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. Playoff action begins tonight between Notre Dame and Indiana. 3 more tomorrow. And then NFL. What do we think about the NFL playing on Saturday when college football's got its playoffs?
That's a bit much, and not to mention, so we've got the playoffs tomorrow. We also have and I know most people are going to laugh when I say this, but the FCS are in the semifinals, and North Dakota State and South Dakota State, the two
Jackrabbits,
the Jackrabbits and the Bison, two of the powerhouses in FCS are going to go at it tomorrow at 11 too. So we got football everywhere on every level.
I just don't think the NFL should be playing when college is trying to take the spotlight. And the NFL doesn't give a rip. They're playing on Christmas, which has been the NBA's big day, and they're playing on that now on a Wednesday. They just don't care. They're just, where's the money? Give it to me.
Yeah, it's kind of annoying. I don't mind when we didn't have these playoff games and the NFL wanted to play on Saturday. That's fine because we didn't have any football anyway because college was not playing. But
you
now,
can mess up the Cure Bowl, the staff DNA Cure Bowl. That's fine. Just the playoff, I don't know about that.
Okay.
They already hijacked the Egg Bowl and moved that off Christmas. Thanksgiving because the NFL's playing. I don't like that.
Yeah, that's
stay in your lane.
We don't need that. Yeah,
but the NFL will not stay in its lane.
No,
the NFL will take the entire highway and close it. That's what they will do.
They're going to do whatever they want. But on something we talked about at the beginning of the show, the Kinder's Texas Bowl. You are not aware of what Kinder's
still don't
is.
know what that is.
So I'll give you a few options.
There's a town in Louisiana called Kinder.
I'll give you a few options.
Okay.
Number one, so let's say A is a barbecue company.
Okay.
B is a insurance company, or C is a Texas supply chain company.
Okay. I'm going to say no insurance. Spent 7 years in insurance. I never heard Kinder's, so I'm going to go no for insurance. That leaves barbecue and supply chain. Man, that's pretty. Those are good. The made up one is good by you because that makes a lot of sense. I'm going to go with Texas Supply Chain Company. It's a barbecue restaurant. Is it a restaurant or is it spices?
It's spices, like barbecue. You will probably see these in a store. I've recognized the label after seeing. I didn't know what it was at first, but yeah, I've recognized they do sauces and they do rubs.
I really do like to cook. I'm terrible at it, but I enjoy doing it. And I just don't think I'm ever going to get into the barbecue game. The 13-hour briskets and the whole deal. I love to eat it, and I think that's a bridge too far for me.
Yeah, one thing I'll say is there are a few ways that are a little bit easier than that. Like one time I did some ribs in the oven and they were really good. But it can be challenging.
I'll tell you
this:
I covered the Outback Bowl when LSU played Iowa in January of 2014. And the amount of Outback that was available that week in the press box. Yeah. So if this is a barbecue deal, they're going to have a lot of spices and rubs and all that
that'd be
stuff.
good. They'll probably have some actual barbecue.
Dave always talks about the Chick-fil-A Bowl in 2008. He was like, by the end of it, we just couldn't do it. He couldn't eat any more Chick-fil-A. So it's just the sponsors get their money's worth that week of bowl activity.
That they do.
Well done by you. Do we have take it or leave it? Are we going to do that?
I don't think we have any.
All right, we got to talk about them wanting me to do the Mississippi State play-by-play in the chat.
Yeah. So one legendary member of the chat, usually known as Pirate. His name is now Bayou John in the chat because I guess he probably forgot his password. But he came in here and mentioned the fact that the legend Jim Ellis.
He is a legend. There's no doubt about that. I've met Jim,
and he is retiring after 47 years of calling the games there in Stark Vegas, and he says that you should Hunt Palmer apply for that job to call the baseball games for the Bulldogs?
I'm not sure what the wife's going to say if I tell her we're packing up and moving to Starkville.
Yeah,
that just doesn't sound like it's going to happen.
Unless you can somehow get it written in the contract that they'll charter you a plane from Baton Rouge to Starkville
for sure.
and every there and back.
The Tuesday night flights to take on Memphis. I don't know if that's going to happen either. I'll tell you this: the Mississippi State fans, and a lot of folks are commenting on the black uniform thing. So when I did a game on LSU's radio, I was doing the LSU Sports Radio Network play-by-play with Buzzy, and they didn't have a TV crew for the baseball game Mississippi State was playing, and so the SC Network feed picked up our broadcast, and I mentioned that the black uniforms were hideous, which of course they were, and Mississippi State fans went ballistic on Twitter. A guy made a handle that was F-word Hunt 1 and like Photoshop pictures of me very crudely. They went and they hated me on Twitter. 2 years later, maybe 3 years later, I did a game with Lynn Rollins on the SEC Network. And they were aware it was an LSU-based crew, but Mississippi State won that game, and I was pretty complimentary of them offensively. It was actually the game where LSU, it was in 2023, the championship year, when LSU blew that huge lead to Mississippi State.
Yeah, I remember that.
And I said some good things about Mississippi State, about their offense and how their pitching just needed to pick it up a little bit, and they would have been a better team. And I found on Twitter a thread from the Mississippi State beat writer, and they were saying how good the LSU broadcast was.
Wow.
So if you say something negative, you're the worst ever.
Yeah,
if you say something positive, what a great broadcast. That's very consistent with
it.
It
is.
But that's just the way fans operate. LSU fans are the exact same way. I've never gotten the this guy hates my team thing, and I hate this guy's announcement. Like, they're so biased. That stuff drives me nuts because it's generally just completely made up. But Mississippi State fans hated me at one point. Loved me at a different point.
Yeah, now at a different point. So I think maybe since you called that game and were complimentary of the team, that maybe they have forgotten your hatred.
Well, those black uniforms are hideous.
The black uniforms.
I would literally, if Vanderbilt offered me a baseball scholarship, I would literally not go there because I knew I had to wear black baseball pants on Fridays. I just wouldn't go. I'm just like, I can't play for you. This is a great university, great baseball program. You're a great coach. I can't wear those uniforms. It's the only
offer you have, and you're not going to take it.
I can't play, coach.
Unbelievable.
I can't wear the softball uniforms.
Incredible.
I can't look like a moron every Friday. I can't do it. That's it for a Friday show here. We're brought to you by Clorox. If you missed any of the show, catch it on demand, 1045ESPN.com. Anywhere you find your podcasts, wherever that may be, search Hunt Palmer Show. Like, subscribe, rate, and review. I'm out of here for the weekend. Marshman's birthday party coming up. Matt's going to drive you home on AFR. We're back Monday, same time, same place for the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
When you can't rely on technology,